Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. How is our wonderful little chat today? Oh, Wendy. She's always so prompt. Good for her. Hello, darling. Let's see. How are we doing on the virtual background? Everything looks fine. Oh, Terry. Terry Courts. Yes, good to see you. Let's make sure that I've got everything opened up where it should be. Give me a second, everybody. Sorry I'm running a couple minutes late. Yes, I'm there. Oh, I see everyone. I see Angela Baker is in the house. Pam Kushner, hello. Want to give a special shout out to Jody. Hello, Jody. Jody is our latest benefactor. Thank you to all of the benefactors, to all of the people who have decided to become members of the channel. I am humbled. I try not to think about it because, I feel, humbled. I feel humbled by those of you who work hard and then decide that, you're going to invest in this little channel. It just means a lot to me. So, I'm deeply touched. I want to give a shout out to all the members, but specifically, I want to give a shout out to Jody. Jody is our latest. I believe she joined. Let me just check my memberships here. See all members. Okay. So the benefactors package are people that get a free reading with me once a month. I think it's $99 a month, and you get access to everything, including heart-centered remote viewing. But you also get to get a free monthly reading. Am I still on? Hopefully, I'm still on. Okay, let me just see. Why is it not opening? I needed to do that. Current level is benefactors. So, yeah, Jody Page, if you could contact me if you could email me, Jody Page at whimsyanderson@gmail.com or dransfieldchuck@gmail.com so that we can set up your free reading with me. I also want to give a shout out to everybody who has decided to join. Adona Maria, welcome to Elders and Empaths. I'll see you Friday for class. Penny and Eric Haverson, welcome. Wendy Sherwood, Nola Bama, Suki Diamond, Julie Zeiss, welcome to Elders and Empaths. See you Friday for class, 6 p.m. If you can't make it live, we do tape everything. Heidi Diedrich, hello. Carla Weekly, good to see you. Welcome to Fairies and Angels. And Inspiration, welcome. For Grace, Sabrina Fell, Marvel Johnson, Paula Footer, we already mentioned Jody, Rick Brown. Those are just the people that joined this week. Of course, we have people joining every day, and I'm just very, very appreciative. I can't tell you guys just how much I appreciate the memberships. Zank is horribly wrong. Yes, Zank is horribly wrong about a lot of things. Zank has accused Israel of genocide, which has been disproven. We are a we celebrate life as Jews. We love children. We don't want children to die. That is not what's happening. What's happening was that we were invaded by Iran because Hamas is Iran, and there's no way to dismantle Iran from Gaza without innocent people being hurt because Hamas is holding the Palestinian people hostage at gunpoint. That would be like accusing the FBI of what happened in the case of David Koresh in, what was it, Texas, when he was holding those kids hostage and they all died. They were all It's very hard when you're in that kind of a situation, a hostage crisis situation. You've got your own people in there to get in and try it. It's a death cult. They say that they love death. They celebrate death. This is, and in Judaism, it's l'chaim, to life. When we toast, we say to life, l'chaim, l'chaim, Am Yisrael chai, Israel lives, right? So it's a very, we celebrate life. We don't want children to die. But unfortunately, Hamas is a death cult. ISIS is a death cult, and they celebrate death. So Zinc is wrong, and Zinc TYT. That's why I don't watch TYT. The progressives have a history of anti-Semitism, and they lie. They lie about Israel a lot, and the infiltration of anti-Semitism into the far left is very disappointing for me, because I am left of center on many issues, starting with the environment. But also a woman's right to choose. And when Democrats dance with the extreme left, it's like Republicans dancing with the extreme right. Both the extreme right and the extreme left meet when it comes to their hatred of the Jews. And that's because they're both taking money from Iran and Russia, which notoriously are anti-Semitic. So, which brings us to the issue of foreign money in U.S. politics that's being brought in order to try and divide the country. We are at war, and we're in a type of war that we as Americans don't entirely understand. It's a war of propaganda, and it's a war that's being played out on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, and it's leading people down strange, people believe that Haitians are kidnapping people's dogs, roasting them on barbecues and having them at barbecues, right? And they believe this is real. They believe it's real. So when you're dealing with that kind of crazy, it's bad enough to have to leave your home because you've been displaced due to a flood or a hurricane or civil war. Now the people of Florida know what it is to be an immigrant, right? Now the people of Florida have been exiled from their homes. They've been exiled from their homes because a great tragedy has befallen Florida. A great tragedy has befallen Florida that has driven them from their homes, and they need love, and they need compassion, and they need a safe place to go. And so they now know what it is to flee a war, right? Whether it's a war that the environment, which has declared, a state of an emergency in Tampa and surrounding areas, or a civil war, which is taking place in Venezuela, instigated by, you guessed it, Russia. Russia wanted to destabilize South America. We had talked about that a couple of years ago, that when we followed the crypto accounts from Russia, when I had done remote viewings on crypto accounts in Russia, I couldn't understand why he was tickling the South America. I don't know if many of you remember those remotes from a few years ago, but I couldn't figure out why he was investing in South America. And what he was doing was he was investing in destabilizing the economy of South America. So people were relying on crypto to buy groceries. And so the crypto destabilized the money in Venezuela, and then they put in a Putin puppet. So the takeaway from all of that was that what do you do to take down a country? First you destabilize their money by getting them to invest in crypto, and then you put out fake media to cause civil unrest, which they've also done. But the other added thing that's causing a lot of our economic problems and hardships is the fentanyl that's being brought in from Mexico. Of course, the precursors we've talked about that are being made in China, the precursor drug, and then that precursor drug is shipped to the cartel in Mexico. So it's another war against the American people. So we're fighting wars that we don't entirely know how to win. And all of these things are destabilizing us. And then when you add to that what's happening in terms of global warming, instead of addressing the problem of global warming and what do we have to do to come together to deal with the crisis, we're fighting about things that are not real, like people roasting cats and dogs on the barbecue, right? All of that is part of the crazy. Cocaine is making a comeback. Did it ever go away? I've never tried these drugs. When other people were trying cocaine in the 80s and 90s, I was living in Jerusalem studying the Torah. It's true. I moved to Israel in like 1986, I think it was. 85, actually, excuse me. So, I just was never a part of that. The best thing that happened to me was leaving the United States. A lot of my friends that stayed in America got involved in drugs, but I wasn't here. But I was such an impressionable young thing and so curious, I probably would have had a problem if I had stayed in the United States. But isn't that sad that the people that no immigrants now find themselves in a situation of being immigrants? That's what happened after Katrina, right? They became immigrants. They had to leave New Orleans and Americans had to immigrate to other states. And we just have to be kind. We have to be kind and compassionate, but at the same time, be wise, have wisdom with our compassion, Being compassionate to people that really need it, yes. Being compassionate to the ex-husband who's lying, cheating, and defrauding us, not so much, right? We've all been there. We've all helped the person who lied and cheated and stole and ripped us off. And then we thought, well, I'll never make that mistake again. But the problem with that, the problem when you become hardened, and I'm never going to have anybody screw me over again, is that you begin to believe that every person who's vulnerable is a terrible person. And that's just not true. Yeah. So, according to the Siena Times poll, I know you folks don't take polls too seriously, but it looks like Ted Cruz is winning in Texas. So at this rate, are we looking at the Senate going Republican? If the Senate is going Republican, what does that mean about the future if Kamala Harris wins? Now, according to 538, if you're looking at 538 polls, the statistical odds are actually narrowing. We feel great. We feel like it's getting better and better and better. We live in our own little corner, right? We think everything's going great. But if you look at the odds are narrowing according to the polls, so that Harris is only 55. It started off that it was much higher. I think yesterday it was 54. Today it's back to 55 times out of 100 when they've run the computer model based on the polls. Harris still wins, but that's too close for comfort. I think it was 70-30 when Hillary ran, but supposedly the polls have gotten better. Who knows? You just don't know. You just don't know with these things. The latest polls, Harris 49 coefficient, not a very good rating. See, they include ones that don't have, but YouGov is good, 49-45, that's very good. If you go into the polls, the presidential election, the latest polls. For whatever reason, I don't know how to get to it. Other polls. We're looking at it's not looking good for us when it comes to the Senate seat. For whatever reason, it's not giving me what I want. I was looking at the Senate earlier, and it was showing that Ted Cruz is ahead, and that's kind of disturbing, because what we have to communicate with people is that a Harris presidency is not going to help us when it comes to Roe v. Wade if we don't take the Senate. You can see it looks good for us in Wisconsin. It looks pretty good for us in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. Montana, we're losing. Nevada, we're winning. Michigan, we're winning. But Arizona, yes, we're winning in Arizona. Gallego against Lake. Arizona, yes. Pennsylvania. Ohio, it's looking good for us in Ohio. However, Cruz is ahead by 6 points according to the Marist poll, which was taken between October 3rd and October 7th. So that is outside the margin of error. It's looking like Cruz 5 points, yeah. So that has me kind of nervous. Florida also, we're losing. Muscarese Powell, Mukarse Powell, excuse me, and Scott ahead 2 points. These are two really critical Senate races if we hope to hold on to the Senate. And a lot of people are not feeling optimistic about the Senate right now. And what happens if we lose the Senate? If we lose the Senate, are we going to be able to get a pro-choice person in the Supreme Court? You know, Cruz is one of the people that's taking away free choice, and that we have to remind people of that in Texas and in Florida, that it's about the executive branch is only one branch, and getting rid of the filibuster, of course, is great. We need to get rid of the filibuster, but also, how much power are we going to have if we can't get the Senate also? So we've really got to get out the vote, and we've got to go vote blue no matter who. And if you are in Texas, or if you are in any of the swing states, Florida, anything and everything you can do to talk to people about how vital it is to take the Senate. I just can't stress enough. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, want to give a shout out to our very own Joel Tilson. He is the floor director for our show. We bow to him. He is also a civil rights advocate for the veterans, calling on them to receive full benefits if they have 10% or more disability. So we support that. Also give a shout out to the unbelievable Debbie Brady, future shaper. She is a talent manager and a creative director here on YouTube. She's always scouting for new talent, and she also runs our fan pages. If you haven't had a chance to check out the fan pages over at the Oracle of Whimsy, she does a great job over there. And it's another great way of supporting the channel. And I think once a month we pick a winner to have a free reading. So thank you, Debbie, for arranging that. The public vote on Roe v. Wade, I think that what we're looking at here, Wendy, is whether or not we can have, what would it be, the 26th Amendment? Is that right? Which is that women are people. And I think that that would include, we have to include Roe v. Wade. We have to include a woman's right to decide what happens to her own body. And that, if we can get that to be a amendment, then that is the way we can override the Supreme Court. The only way to protect ourselves from this type of insanity, which is killing women and, you know, killing women and children, because children are getting pregnant too. Children are getting pregnant from predators and having all kinds of medical problems also, because these people are sick. They're forcing 11-year-olds to give birth because they're sick. And the only way that we can protect women and children is if we talk about an amendment. We have to have an amendment, and the right to choose has to be an amendment. And that would require 2/3 of the states. So, what are we doing as Democrats to mobilize around the idea of an amendment and ensuring that we can override the psychosis of the current bought and paid for religious extremist wingnuts that are sitting in the Supreme Court? Because that's what they are. They're crazy. They're religious nut jobs. And I'm sorry, but they are. And, what can we do? We are, it's the Handmaid's Tale. That's what it is. It's happening in real life. It's very spooky. All right. Would you guys like to hear the empath's prayer and to receive healing and all that other good stuff? If any of you need to receive a healing and prayers at this time, please let us know who you are, and we can include you in the community prayer. Excuse me. Anyone seeking healing at this time, please please give us your names, or anyone you love who needs to receive a healing at this time. We would love to pray for them as we say the empath's prayer together. Also, I'd like to mention that we have a new book of the month for our Book of the Month Club. Our book of the month is The True Nature of Energy, Transforming Anxiety into Tranquility, and the author is Diane Wing. Diane, if you could contact me, Whimsy Anderson at gmail.com, so we can arrange to have you on Taco Tuesday's Book of the Month Club, which we do at the end. I guess we'll do it in mid-November. So we look forward to having you there. So please check out the book, The True Nature of Energy, Transforming Anxiety into Tranquility. Boy, is this a book I need right now. Okay, so for those of you seeking healing, we include you in our prayer. And for those you love who need healing at this time, we would also include you in our prayers. Oops, am I doing this the right way? Yeah. So loud. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen. And for those of you who are asking for healing at this time, for yourselves and for those you love, may you receive health and healing, a perfect healing. And together, collectively, again, we say, Amen. Amen, everyone. May all souls be healed. All right, so without further ado, we can go ahead and do some blitzes. Again, thank you, Joel and Debbie, for being here. And to all of you who are here, be sure and like and subscribe if you haven't done so. It really just helps the channel. We are now up to 58,000. Yay! I'm a proud middleman. That's what they call us, middles. I'm a middle in YouTube world, but I would love to get to 100K, so thank you for that. All right, so we're going to start with the first comment that Joel says. He says, North Korea, yes, as you know, North Korea is sending troops to Ukraine. I can't guarantee that they are well trained. I don't think they received the best military training. And I think that they're just fodder. It's a really horrible thing to do to people. They've been brainwashed, held in extreme poverty, and now they're being sent to their deaths in Ukraine. But let's look at the consequences of North Korea getting involved in the war. Are we looking at World War III? Are we looking at something more serious? We know that Iran and Israel are at war. Are we looking at World War III? There have to be stopgaps. You can't have every crazy in the world building nuclear weapons. And we have to ask ourselves as a planet, who's going to be controlling who? Somebody had said, do we have the right? Somebody had said to me in comments, do we have the right to interrupt a sovereign nation? Well, Adolf Hitler ran a sovereign nation gassing Jews. So, Afghanistan is a sovereign nation crushing women's skulls and beating them to death because, they won't wear a burqa. It's a silly question. Of course, you get involved when there's human rights violations taking place, and particularly you get involved when someone has a nuclear weapon and is planning on using it to bomb you. You don't just sit back and say, well, they're a sovereign nation. We'll just let them bomb us. Another crazy comment I got was that I was saying things about Hamas that's not true. I would invite anybody who feels that way to go back and look at the October 7th film footage. There's a lot of really screwed up people out there, and those people will be blocked. I don't want you on my channel. That's just crazy talk. And I expect people to not be crazy here. We can be weird, but we should not be crazy, and we should not be promoting genocide, okay? Against anybody. All right, so we see a healing taking place, which is the Page of Cups, which is a desire to heal the situation, and the karma is war. So unfortunately, the reason they were brought in was because they were cheap and because they were affordable. And unfortunately, war is the karma. But the base of the matter is that a healing will come to the area. A healing will come to the world. Justice is coming in the first house. And the crossing card is April. So again, they keep talking about spring of next year. This whole entire situation could change. I feel like the international community, the people who make money off of trade, they want this to end. You can see also, if you continue to look, that you have Queen of Swords. She puts the past behind her. It's a Stoics card. And you have this Six of Cups, which is a desire to, just because two countries may be at war or having problems, it doesn't mean that a business that sells to the United States is anti-American. They're just a company owned by a business person who just wants to get back out and do trade. And so you have these oligarchs that were making a lot of money off of Western trade, and they had good relationships with the US, and they want to go back to having those relationships. And so for that reason, you have this unbelievable pressure that's going on from the business world to get back into investing to end the sanctions. 10 of Cups moving into sixth position, past placement, complete confusion. The business world does not approve of this. The fact that the Six of Cups is sitting in the third house also tells me that they want to go back to the old ways. We had a great relationship with the Americans. They bought our vodka, man. We had vodka parties. We had good times. We supplied our vodka on all of the cruise ships. We remember those days? I remember those days. I used to work on day cruises, and they invited a bunch of Russian businessmen, which was during the time of From Russia with Love, when they were trying to open up trade with the United States, and the Americans wined and dined them, and everybody was drinking tons of vodka, and they were dancing to Russian music. And really great relationships formed, and a lot of people made a lot of money, and it was something really positive for many people. And for the business person, they just want to get back to work. Seventh house, the hidden message or this idea. I feel that the international courts are coming in. I feel that the Hague is coming in. There is this desire from the international community. High Priestess is the Torah, it's the truth, it's the hidden knowledge. There is this, Torah is the law, right? The 613 commandments. So it's this feeling that as mayor of the Munchkin city, right, you have to declare it. So there's this kind of high priestess energy moving in, and then the opposition, it's over. And then a desire to return back healthy, Two of Cups, and then moving on, Chariot. So it is very much a desire by the entire world to put this behind them, to get back to business as usual, to start seeing money released that's being held. So people also, the business world, the Russian business world didn't get paid. They didn't get paid, and they didn't get access to their money. So there's this desire to get paid, to get our money, to get back into business, to find out what we can do to open up trade and open up our relationships. It's also interesting if you look at these cards. I got to come up with a way to hold these up for people. But if you look at these cards, you have a justice coming in, and then you have this high priestess over the next 30 days. So there's this strong push by the courts. Also, the fact that the Queen of Swords is there also leads me to think that this is, with a Six of Cups sitting again in the third house, it's a desire to move on, to go back to what it was, to go back to business that was, to the great relationships that once existed, this kind of energy of love and positivity or kumbaya, come back kind of a feeling. And a desire, the business world wants us to know that they did not support this war. Okay, the war is over, it happened. We did not personally support this war. It was a decision by Putin. We are different. We are business people. We want to have business with the United States. It has that kind of a feeling to it. But I keep getting that the pressure by the international courts and the business community ultimately puts an end to the war sometime around, we see it wrapping up sometime around spring of 2025. And people are genuinely frightened about where the war is taking them. Yes, Elon wants to give people a hardware, but unfortunately to set it up, it costs $400. Well, his ex-wife also says that he lied about a prenup, telling her that it was something that it wasn't. And then as a result, she worked her ass off to help him build his company. And then he got everything and she was left with just the house and very little child support because he's an inherently selfish person. He doesn't give to charity. He wants to keep it all for himself. He wants power. And that's just not sustainable. People like that, it never ends well for them. It always ends badly for them. So in terms of Elon Musk, you know, there's a saying in the Talmud, what's mine is mine is, and what's yours is yours, and what's mine is yours too. This is a tzaddik. This is a saint. What's mine is mine, and what's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. That's an average person. You got your stuff, I got my stuff. What's mine is mine, and your stuff is my stuff too. That's called an idiot in the Talmud. And unfortunately, Elon Musk is not as smart as he thinks he is, because what's his is his, and he'll take your stuff too. And it's not sustainable, which is why in the Talmud they say you're an idiot, because because it goes against the natural order. And anything that goes in the universe has a way of taking care of greedy people. That's why you see kingdoms rising and falling. You know, like when I was in Ireland, all the energy was spent protecting the castle because everybody was trying to get the castle, get the wealth, get the people, get the this, get the that. And so, yeah, you had all the wealth, but you were sleeping with a knife and chain mail on you to keep from being stabbed to death. And there were guards everywhere. Who wants to live like that? And so if you look at like the Tower of London with those twin boys being killed, right? So power and money attracts violence, and it's not, and then you do everything in your power to hold on to the power, right? So he has a group of bodyguards that is like the royal family. He's got multiple protections. Who wants to live like that? He's sitting there eating a salad, and behind him is like 20 bodyguards. I mean, who would want to live with 20 bodyguards surrounding you because they all want to get him? They all want to assassinate him. They all want to kidnap his kids, and everything else. I wouldn't want to live like that. So it always implodes. Either they get assassinated, or they drink themselves to death, or it always ends badly. It cannot sustain itself. Zank on TY said Kamala Harris is losing now. He said she is losing most of the swing states now. Please tell me isn't true. Well, he takes money from Russia. He is extreme left, the same people that supported Hamas and Hezbollah and were, shouting Jew hatred in Colombia, and they're the ones that are provoking. So Zenk is an idiot. I'm sorry, but he is. And I used to watch their show until I really started to listen to him. No, she's not losing in the swing states. And actually, if you look at the early voting out of Pennsylvania, it looks like they're building quite a wall of protection. If you look at Charles Boozy, is that his name? Charles Boozy in Spoutable. And Spoutable is the replacement now for Twitter if you don't want to be on Twitter anymore. Charles Boozy, is that how you say it? Charles Boozy. He does his calculations based on who turned in what. What are we seeing when we look at the actual races themselves? More than the polls. So that's more important than the polls. And that's how he's able to make his predictions. He doesn't go on the polls. And so here is the numbers. You have 1.5 million applications of people that are voting. 930K are Democrats, and less than half are Republicans, with 171 being other. So that's a blue wall of protection with the early voting we're seeing already out of Pennsylvania. And I believe Florida, it's looking hit or miss out of Florida. Oh my God, he looks so crazy there. Florida, here you can see projected mail ballots returned. We have far more. We have 150,000 more of the Democrats, but the problem is we have 510,000 of independents, and many of those will go for Trump. So I would say it's not looking that great for Democrats. I would have wanted to see a much better firewall than just a couple 100,000 in the early voting, just because I'm not confident that these undecideds are going to be voting for Harris. But Pennsylvania looks good. Florida does not look that great. I think Michigan, it looks like we are probably going to take Michigan. Yeah. My concern is about the Senate race in Texas. And my concern is I think that Harris is going to win. I do. I think Harris is going to win. Boozy, yeah, Christopher Boozy. You can check out. He makes predictions based on early voting and who registered. Zenk isn't interested in the facts. People have sat down and showed him, like he said, that Jews are committing genocide against Palestinians, that they're up twice, the numbers have doubled. This is one of the reasons why we want to expand space in Gaza, try and get Egypt also to help with that, because the population doubled. 2.6 times growth. And the Israeli Arabs, who are Palestinians, who make up 1/3 the population of Israel and have total voting rights, their population is, I think they're growing faster than the Jewish population. So there's no genocide happening. And people will try and explain that to him over and over and over again, but he just is not interested. He's not interested in the facts. Zenk doesn't want the facts. And so why listen to somebody who just is not interested in the facts? All right, this is something I picked up a little bit. Chutkin said Annex is public. I don't really know what Annex 45 has 6 days to properly file a motion. I think he screwed that up. I see him being sentenced in a court and going to prison. I see the cameras showing it. I see him being sentenced, and I see him being reprimanded to custody. That is what I see for Trump. I don't know which courtroom it is, but if he lives, if he doesn't keel over from a heart attack, I don't see him winning this presidency. I see him going to prison, and I don't see a lot of compassion on the part of the judge. But let's take a look at the Chutkin case with Trump. I'll just do 4 cards. I'll just blitz it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Much appreciated. It's very, this is a very matter of fact judge. That's my feeling when I go into this energy. This is a very matter of a fact judge. She simply looks at, follows the money, follows the situation. She's just observes the situation, exposure, and sentencing. And Six of Cups. He still has a chance to confess. He still has a chance to make some kind of deal with the prosecution. There's still a chance that they could do something because that Six of Cups is coming in for Trump. So he's still, do you want to fess up? Do you want to have your people meet with This is what happened with Cohen. They delayed things, and then Cohen confessed. He said that he was guilty on lesser sentences. He didn't have to spend the rest of his life in prison. He only spent something like 18 months. He's got legal problems. Eight of Swords is to be wrapped in legal tape. Opposition. His opposition is working together. Two of Wands with the sun coming out. Hopes and fears. His destiny. It's his destiny. I see a health challenge over Trump. I keep seeing a health challenge with him, and I don't know what that's about. But it does not look good for him. So over the case of Chutkin, it's very matter of fact. The only way he's going to avoid worse is if Six of Cups makes a deal with the prosecution. That's based on what it looked like to me. All right, Lisa Murkowski. She's talking about switching parties, going as an independent, and no longer being a Republican because she is pro-choice. So let's take a look at Murkowski. She wants Trump gone. But, Alaska is a male-dominated state, right? Because it has a higher percentage of males than females, and it's also an oil-producing state. Lisa Murkowski. Yes, Lisa Murkowski is going independent. Smoother waters lay ahead. Death, and she's breaking with the Republican Party because they went crazy, packing up and moving on, and then we get our wish. Why did she leave? Because they changed. There used to be a place for pro-choice Republicans like Barbara Bush, and they went off the deep end. She didn't change, they changed. They got taken over by MAGA. They got taken over by Ginny Thomas and charismatic Catholics and Opus Dei. And so it no longer was a party that represented her. And so she felt like she had to, and also they declared war on women. Smoother waters lay ahead, healthy decision. They tried to get her back, Six of Cups. No, they went crazy. They don't represent her anymore. She was a physical conservative. She was never anti-LGBTQ. I don't believe that. And she was always pro-choice. So she had no choice. As long as these wing nuts are taking over, these religious nut jobs are taking over it was about physical conservatism and bringing business into Alaska. And sensible decisions as a physical conservative. So Queen of Swords moving in she's the past, and then celebration of women. So yes, she's leaving the Republican Party. She'll be voting with the Democrats. And then Doug Emhoff will be the deciding vote if we have a tie in the Senate. So for that reason, it may not be that bad. Yeah, and I think Maine, what is her name? Collins would also be voting, probably. I think Collins is also pro-choice. So we have 2 pro-choice Republicans. So that's good. Cancun cruise is losing. Well, I wish he was, but unfortunately, Cancun cruise is ahead 5 points according to the latest Siena poll. But let's take a look at Cancun cruise. Cancun cruise. All right, Cancun cruise. The situation is unfolding very, very quickly. Whoops. There's an arrogance here, like I got this in the bag. There's this feeling like it's his. He's got the money. He's got the assurances. He's got the contacts in Texas. Situation is changing very rapidly. But you know what? A lot of money is being poured into the Texas race, which is interesting. Hopes and fears to hold on to his partnerships. There's a destiny here. Cruz. Refusal to change. People, you know what? He did not change, and he was in denial about the voice of the people that the voters had shifted, because the opposition is more money and 6 of cups. They're going over to the opposition. Health of his partnerships. Many of his partnerships have retired or moved on. And there's a new beginning, a new destiny for Cruz. This 2 of Swords is not good. It means that he may not be completely in touch with how his voters feel. You know what? He could lose. He could still lose because, yes, it's a possibility. It's right on the fence. But if we really make an effort, we could see the end of Cruz in Texas, because he continues with this legislation, this very narrow idea. But look at his opposition. The Magician, 6 of Cups, people coming to them, and also that Page of Pentacles, which could be money and jobs. And then the hopes and fears. He's afraid of something coming to light about him. The fact that the Knight of Pentacles is there that goes nowhere, it's still undecided. It's still undecided. If we can get out the vote with young people, then we could see the end of Cancun Cruise. Yes, there's still hope for him to go bye-bye. You're right, Pat. We should not underestimate the power of women and the power of the woman's vote. But there are many women that are supporting Trump, and there are many women that are opposed to a woman's right to choose. So we can't assume that that all women are pro-choice. Okay, so the next question, Wendy wants to know about an amendment. Are we looking at possibly an amendment? Do we have to bring back the ERA and include a woman's right to choose in the ERA? Is that the only way we're going to be able to protect ourselves from a fundamentalist court? We're talking about it. We're talking about the ERA, and I'm glad we are. But what are we going to do about it? Confusion about we have to stop thinking that the Supreme Court is our only option. We have to look at our legacy and our inheritance, which means the amendment: a woman's right to choose, women's rights, fertility, and the final outcome is the King of Wands. Interesting. Scholarship over the issue. The only hope for women, the only way to protect ourselves so that we're not constantly left. We cannot put our hopes in the Supreme Court. Even if it looks like there's a Latino guy. I keep seeing a Latino man in the Supreme Court. Another Catholic, but Catholic progressive probably. Scholarships around, but new beginnings for the voters. this concern of rigidity. So even if we get to see this hot Latino, this hot fireman gets into the court, there's still confusion, 7 of Cups, and that's because it doesn't feel good that we're at the mercy of the Supreme Court. So let's stop being at the mercy of the Supreme Court. Let's stop being at the mercy of the Supreme Court. Take the power away from the Supreme Court. And the only way to do that is to push for the ERA and a woman's right to choose. And once it becomes an amendment, then we don't have to worry about the Supreme Court anymore. We have other ways of ensuring that Roe v. Wade is the law of the land. We have to get 2/3 of the states to, they're pushing for it not to pass in Florida. But the only way to protect women is, now we think about the Supreme Court, but long term, we can't be complicit. We have to push towards an amendment. Otherwise, we'll forever be at the mercy of the courts. This week it's good, tomorrow it isn't. They're not going to stop because they're religious fundamentalists, and religious fundamentalists don't stop. And so the only way to protect ourselves from the crazy is to have an amendment. We really have no choice. That's another way of looking at it. The only thing that's going to happen if we bring in 1 or 2 people who are pro-choice is that it protects us for maybe 5 to 10 years until the next crazy group of crazies come in. And so that's why we have to be vigilant and bring in an amendment. That's what I think. Wendy Burt says, it's disgusting that these old men are choosing what we can do. That's right. And it's also killing people. It's also killing people. And that because people who don't know anything about a woman's body or have the medical knowledge to know how to deal with these types of issues should not be making decisions that impact a person's health. They're not doctors. They're not gynecologists or OBGYN. It's outside the scope of their training. So why are they voting on it? It's absolute insanity. You're not a doctor. All right, so let's take a look at the ERA, if it's going to pass, and if we can include Roe v. Wade in the new ERA. Good questions, everyone. This is a fun Hot Topics Thursday, a lot of good questions coming in. Yes, after the president signs it, that's right. Two-thirds. Can we get 2/3 of the states? I believe we can. Can we get it in the South? I don't know. That southern wall, can we get past the southern wall? Yes, it can take a couple years, but I don't know about next year. But yes, if we're talking about a woman's right to choose, we should focus on amendments and the ERA again. We can see 10 of Cups, which is celebration, happy family. Queen of Cups is the opposition. The person who rubs their lamp, the emotionalism, hopes and fears, the King of Cups. The final outcome is 6 of Swords, which is the ability to go forward, to come out of rough waters towards smoother waters. And the issues of opposition. Yeah, because if we don't do an amendment, we'll be stopped by the courts. That's the issue, the courts. Well, it's like that science fiction movie where they began to seed men that had done terrible things. and it was an all-female court in a future society. And so what they would do is they would strap the men down and then they would seed them. They would do this procedure where they would forcibly impregnate them by seeding them. So I think that that's what we should do. Let's just, all these right-wing judges have to be seeded, right? Because every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is sacred. So we just lock them down, all the Ted Cruzes, all the right-wing wig nuts. No, it's beautiful. Giving birth is a beautiful thing. So we're going to seed you. No? It'll be part of our religion, right? To seed the men because you're pro-life. So you all get to be seeded. And then we can all go into an evangelical, oh, hallelujah, the men. We're going to force them all to be seated. No? But it's a beautiful thing. So all the men who engage in domestic violence or abuse, they'll just all get locked up and you'll all be seated. And then you get to experience having your body forcibly inseminated, and then we control it all. We're going to control it all. And that it'll be a good thing because it's the baby will get taken away so that you won't have access. It's just 9 months. What's the problem? It was a short story I read a couple of years ago. I thought, God, this would make a great like Black Mirror episode, right? And it was a future society, and it was all female court, and they were evangelicals, and every time that they would order the male abuser to be seated, they would be like, oh, hallelujah, he's to be seated. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. And the guy would be horrified. Well, let's take a look at your crimes. You chronically drank, you smacked your wife around, come on, I had issues. Well, you know what? They would wake them up from coma. They would be like in these cocoons, and the guy would come back 100 years later who had been put into a cocoon, and he would be sentenced, and he would be seated. You're going to be seated with a baby. For whatever reason, the women either couldn't or didn't want to be seated. And so they were just taking all these former abusive males that had been in coma, like had been asleep for 100 years, taking them out and seating. It was horrific. And I think about that short story a lot. And I think, wow, if that were real, how quickly would a right to choose pass? If and if it was run by this evangelical cult of crazy women in the courts that were seating male abusers and locking them up until the baby's born. And when the guy is trying to, no, it's only, come on, what's the problem? We're only asking for 9 months of your life. Yeah, it was really horrific. It was a really horrific sci-fi story. And I thought, God, that would make a great movie. Yeah, it was like Mad Max, but it was horrifying. It was horrifying. And the guys are like pleading, please don't do this to me. Oh no, it's a beautiful thing. It's the will of the goddess. And the guys were like freaking out. And yeah, of course it's barbaric. And the women were like, hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the goddess, praise the goddess. Like every time they would order a man to be seated. Yes, sci-fi. Sci-fi teaches us a lot about ourselves. Yeah, we learn a lot about our crazy from science fiction. Yeah. So how many, I'd be curious about how the average man would respond to a story like that. Like I had a guy friend of mine, and I had finished reading that story, and I said, guy, I just read the craziest short story, The Seeding or whatever it was called. And he looked so terrified, like, ah! It's like, yeah, that's how women live every day. You know, if you get raped, even if you're a kid, you're being seated, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. So now you know how it is. And crazy people are saying, no, this is a good thing, and they're going to hold you there, and you're going. It's just 9 months, right? I didn't write the book. People are like horrified. I didn't write it. I'm just saying this was the story. It was a short story. I can't remember who the author was, but I think it was called The Seeding or something like that. But it's about crazy, how some religions are just crazy, and it's about crazy, and it's about control also. Right, Joel. So like a lot of states, would we have a problem with the red wall of shame? Yes, I don't know. I don't know. Um, that's one of those situations where you don't tell your husband how you're voting. Oh, I'm sorry, Angela. Yeah. Well, we could just be like, take criminals who are in cocoons asleep and just drag them out, and, their crimes against women and children, and then we can just seed them. uh, there was a question, I don't know if I got to. Making examples of people. Was it in making examples? I think it was more like they believed that life was sacred, and they believed that to seed was beautiful, and because it was their ego being transferred onto God, right? So we've talked about this idea of narcissism, right? So narcissists often are evangelical, and they think that God speaks for them. So in the case of the seating, the women were really just trying to control the man. But they were telling themselves it was of God, of the goddess, but it was really just a desire to hurt and control, right? So that's where narcissism and evangelicalism and narcissism have a very close relationship. Yeah. Oh yes, men can't take period. Well, nobody can take period pain. All right. Is there any other questions before we close? I thought there was a question and I didn't see it. Um, yeah, sci-fi is just trippy, and sci-fi scares me, like because uh, particularly when we get into like that sort of thing. But there's a lot we can learn about ourselves from science fiction. Okay, I think we got through everything. Did we get through all the questions? Are we done? Are we going over, or are we finished? I got a question from Debbie. Are we done? Are we done? Judge Merchant sentencing. I got the impression that she was very matter of fact, and that she would just go by the book, which means that he would be found guilty, and that if he didn't make a decision, if he didn't make a decision to confess to lesser crimes and work with the prosecution, he could theoretically find himself in prison for a very long time. That was what we got oh, that was Judge Chutkin. So let's look at Judge Merchan. Judge Merchan, who's also sentencing. When is the sentencing happening? It's happening after the election. They say it is a win for the people. Judge Merchan delivers it as a win for the people. The people win against the former president, the opposition being Trump, the people's legacy, and so it is. So yeah, he'll probably get like 6 months to a year. The question that I wanted to talk about that I didn't get to had to do with this growing animosity towards Ron DeSantis. As you know, he's the governor of Florida, and he's done a lot of things that are pretty insane, like throwing books out of schools, trying to suppress a woman's right to choose in Florida, and now refusing to take the phone calls of VP Harris during a serious emergency, which put people's lives at risk. Are people in Florida done? Are we going to see any kind of backlash against Ron DeSantis? Is Florida bankrupted? Are we talking about Florida being bankrupted at this point? When we talk about immigration, when we talk about immigration to the United States and not being sensitive and compassionate to the immigrant, do we see it coming back on us when we see immigrants happening right here in the United States, with people being forced to immigrate to other states from Florida because Florida is becoming increasingly destabilized due to global warming? Are we going to get the acid down in the ocean? Are we going to be able to capture enough carbon quickly enough? You know, are you growing plants and trees in your home to offset the carbon? There are small plants you can grow, like snake plants. Uh, if you Google small plants that absorb high amounts of carbon, you can start to bring those into your home. And it's one of the ways that we can all participate in getting the carbon down. There's trees we can plant. There's small plants. Everybody should be bringing plants into their home. The more we all do this, the more we can help to get the carbon levels down. But are we looking at people being so disgusted that they want Ron DeSantis removed? And I think it's very possible that this could blow up in his face because, again, it's not sustainable. And his behavior is fascistic and it goes against the natural order. And so for that reason, it could blow up in his face. The future of Ron DeSantis. Money's been stolen. There's an investigation into stolen money, stolen federal funds in Florida. And I don't know what that's about. He rubs his lamp and dreams. There's something about a theft that took place, whether or not he'll be outed, an investigation. So he's under investigation for his incompetency. I see another man coming in. When does he step down? He can't run again, I know that, but there's another man taking over in his place. Like religious crazy. This is dogma. It ultimately cost him. Also, there was missing funds. Misappropriation of funds became an issue, and he became investigated over that. And over the issue of leaving, it's interesting. There's this other guy coming in. It could be that a lot of stuff comes in, deporting people. Look at this. Look at what he did to the immigrants by deporting them out of certain areas, tricking them into getting on planes. And now look what's happened to his own citizens. They themselves now have to seek refuge. So, and the fact that there's an investigation and the King of Swords is coming in could be a police investigation, but it also looks like he could be recalled, like that the people want him out. I don't know how much time, when does he get to leave? 2026? They could ask him to leave early. Yeah. Wheat sprouts, interesting. Wheat sprouts absorb CO2. Interesting. My cat likes wheat sprouts. Yeah. Okay, so over the issue of Florida, I would say that there's a really good chance that there's going to be a movement to get him out of there. People are not happy with him right now. And I think that the only thing we can do is tell people in Florida, you have to vote, and vote straight blue, straight. And also regarding the referendum, I think on a woman's right to choose in Florida, he's doing a lot to keep women, a lot of disinformation. These people are crazy. They want to kill women. They want to control their bodies. It's women, children. It's sick. These are sick people. And they need, the power needs to be taken away from them. Yeah. That looked like it could be in the next couple of months. That looked like a police investigation. I know that he's been accused of misappropriation of funds in the past, and there's some investigation on theft or missing money in Florida that came up, and something about him possibly being replaced by another man. So that is what I see. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. If you would like to have a tarot card reading with me, or if you need medical intuition and a general health coaching and advice, that information is also below. I am a naturopathic doctor and a medical intuitive, so I do that as well. All the information can be booked through Booksy. And last but not least, please support Diane Wing and the true nature of energy transforming anxiety into tranquility. She is our chosen author for the Book of the Month Club. Again, thank you to all of you who have decided to subscribe and to the memberships. I'm so grateful to you for your support of the channel. And I guess that's it. So on that, thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you, Joel, as usual. Much appreciation. Desiree Robato and everyone else who helped with the stream today. All right. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.